Last week, we talked about postpartum essentials that can make your life more bearable after birth. But in this fourth part of our video series on things to take care of before your baby arrives, I'm gonna talk about arrangements we recommend making before your baby arrives, which will support your postpartum recovery in a different way than applying any products. So listen closely, this can be a big help when you recover after birth. I'm afraid today it's only gonna be me. I'm Matthias, a researcher and science geek, and normally I'm here with my partner Natalie, who is a pregnancy and birth consultant and TCM therapist. But unfortunately, Natalie is very busy at the clinic, to say the least. I'm sorry for that. So today it's only gonna be me. So just to let you know, we also created a PDF file for this video in which we summarize everything that we cover in this video, just to make life easier for you, right? So watch this video first and then click the link in the description below this video to download our PDF file. No email address required. And now let's get started. One of the biggest problems of recovering after birth, and this is really something that we have heard over and over again, is simply the fact that new moms are often not given the chance to recover postpartum because of other people. I mean, obviously everybody wants to see your little baby, right? And so chances are that you're gonna get a lot of visitors after your delivery, like family and friends, right? The problem with that is that those visitors often don't know what it means to recover from birth. They want to be served coffee and cake, they want to be entertained, they want to have a good time, right? And so rather than letting you stay in bed and recover, they make you stay in the kitchen and do all the work, and they even let you clean up later. And I'm telling you this as a guy who has observed this very often, right? And so the first thing we recommend doing before your baby arrives is setting up visitor guidelines. Make it very clear to everyone in your family and also to your friends that they should either leave you alone during those first couple of weeks after birth, or if you do want them to visit, make it very clear that you're not going to serve them coffee and tea and food and whatnot, right? Instead, tell them to bring food, for instance. See it like this. If you had an accident, people would also not just visit and expect you to do all the work, right? They would acknowledge that you need time to recover. A delivery of a baby is not very different from an accident. In both cases, you lost a lot of blood, and in both cases, you need time to recover. And the more you make your family and friends aware of that, the easier your life will be postpartum. Of course, it would be wrong to assume that it's always a bad thing to have family and friends around when you try to recover postpartum, right? It can be a very good thing as long as they know their place and are helpful rather than annoying. And so what we recommend doing is pick a few people that you particularly like and trust and ask them to actively support you during your postpartum recovery. But please do this before your baby arrives, okay? So for example, maybe your mother can help you with the laundry. Maybe your best friend can cook a little bit more each day and bring some food for you, right? Or maybe if you have a sister, she can help you with the household. And of course, don't forget to include your partner, right? For example, tell him to do the cooking. And by the way, cooking does not mean putting a frozen pizza in the oven, right? So if his cooking skills would rather be life-threatening than helpful, then maybe he can order some food online or bring food from a restaurant. I mean, luckily, we can really see that there are a lot of men who do a great job supporting their partners postpartum, right? But then there are also cases of men who still haven't arrived in the 21st century and believe that cooking and other household chores are something that only women can do, right? So my point is, set up a support network. Make a plan who is going to do what during your postpartum recovery. Do not hesitate to ask people for help. In the worst case, they say no, but in the best case, they will help you get through your postpartum period more easily. Okay, so look, I really don't know what it is about mothers-in-law. I mean, I have no doubt that some mothers-in-law are just great persons with a big heart who are nothing but helpful. But on the other hand, why do so many women leave us comments here on YouTube in which they complain about their mother-in-law? I mean, just imagine that. We had women complain that their mother-in-law fed those women's baby formula milk although those women actually wanted to breastfeed their baby. Other women complained that their mother-in-law was basically around 24/7 as soon as baby arrived, but was not being helpful at all. And I don't know if this is like a cultural thing. Like in some countries, mothers-in-law seem to have a lot to say, right? But basically, if you don't want your mother-in-law to be around, by all means, tell her to leave. And if she's mad at you for doing that, who cares? The postpartum phase is all about you and your recovery. And if you feel that your mother-in-law interferes with that process, send her home. And if you don't want to do that, tell your partner to send her home. Job done, right? Don't make your life harder than it needs to be. Of course, you cannot always rely on other people, right? And so if you know that you're most probably not gonna get any help, and if your partner's cooking skills are rather life-threatening, then we recommend preparing and freezing some meals before your baby arrives. And I really want to emphasize that it needs to be healthy meals, because many new moms make use of non-healthy alternatives, particularly processed foods like frozen pizzas that you can buy at the grocery store and basically just put in the oven, right? Or other processed foods. And I'm not gonna blame them for doing that. I mean, you have other things to worry about when you try to recover postpartum, right? But the problem is that such foods do not provide the body with the micronutrients that it so urgently needs postpartum. Your body needs those micronutrients, such as vitamins and minerals, etc., to basically fix the damage. So the more you give to your body, the faster you're gonna recover. Let alone that your baby will benefit from those micronutrients when you breastfeed your baby. And so if you cannot get anyone to prepare fresh and healthy food for you, simply prepare a couple of healthy meals that can be frozen and reheated before your baby arrives. Your body will thank you for it, right? And by the way, one thing we particularly recommend is preparing a soup that we call the midwife's broth. The problem is that during your delivery, you're gonna lose a lot of blood and other fluids. That's just how it is, right? And if you're breastfeeding your baby, you're obviously gonna keep losing fluids postpartum. The midwife's broth will give your body those fluids back, particularly electrolytes. And the cool thing about it is that it can also be frozen in smaller portions and then reheated. You can find the recipe in our PDF that you can find in the description below this video. Another thing to do before your baby arrives is to stock up on essentials, right? And I'm not talking about, baby essentials and postpartum essentials, because we talked about those in our previous videos, right? I'm actually talking about basic stuff such as toilet paper, kitchen rolls, soap, toiletries in general, right? And of course, if you have any pets, do not forget to stock up on pet food as well, and to make a plan on how to deal with your pets during your postpartum recovery. For example, if you have a cat litter box at home, make a plan who's going to take care of that cat litter. Here's some advice: it should not be you. Natalie and I always recommend new moms to already decide before their baby arrives who is going to be the pediatrician of their choice, given that you have that choice, of course. Most of the times you don't need one, but sometimes you do, and in those cases it's just good to have their number readily available, right? And the same applies to the phone number of a therapist. Most likely you don't need it, but many women suffer from mental issues after their delivery because they have to digest their birth experience, right? And it doesn't matter if you are a mentally strong person or not. Every woman can be affected by that. In fact, even men can be affected by that. For example, I have a friend who was just completely overwhelmed by the birth experience. Not only did he faint when his little girl was born, he also had a very hard time to mentally recover from that experience. And he did need a therapist for that. So yes, even men can be affected, but we are not talking about your partner right now. You are the one who gives birth to your baby, right? And so if you deal with mental issues after your delivery, and again, every woman can be affected by that, right? Or if it's simply getting too much for you, your delivery, your recovery, a crying baby you have to care for. Well, for those cases, it is just never a bad idea to have the number of a therapist readily available, just in case. And of course, this applies to the number of any person you might need during your postpartum recovery. Talking about getting too much, another major problem that often deters new moms from recovering after birth is that they are completely overwhelmed by the many challenges they face when dealing with their baby, right? And that's only understandable. I mean, some women have breastfeeding issues, or at least they think they have, right? Others find it difficult to burp their baby. Some babies don't poop for days or even weeks. Other babies may cry all day long because they suffer from colic. And of course, there is no way to avoid that you have to deal with such issues postpartum, but what you can do is inform yourself about how to deal with those issues even before your baby arrives, because that will help you keep you cool when certain challenges come up, not only because you know what's normal and what is not normal, but also because then you already know how to deal with those challenges and when to call a doctor. And so we recommend watching our videos that we produced on certain topics, such as breastfeeding, or how to burp a baby, or how to help a baby with constipation, etc. You can find a list of videos that we recommend watching in the PDF file that you can download in the description below this video. If you have found this video helpful, I would be super grateful if you could leave us a like below this video. And for more useful tips and tools on pregnancy and baby related topics, make sure to subscribe to our channel and to hit the bell.